So, verse number 39, continuation of that Sama Anya. Verse number 39, to continue with these forces just mentioned, the second division, sameness, is of one quality, while for the other, the difficult, there is no end to its qualities. Thus, these are of two kinds. The power of knowledge, there are two types. One is leading to sameness, that's only one quality, and the other is difficult. Vishama. Vishama is the difficult. Vishesha, that is specific. So that will be discussed now in this commentary. So in verse 33, it is said that knowledge, in order to know its own potential, changed into the many known things. It enters into various states of clarity and obscuration. Sometimes it forms a pronounced dichotomy of the knower and the known. At certain other times, it becomes a passive witness, where the knower aspect is not emphasized. Watching the ongoing procession of known items flashing through consciousness as objects of awareness. Sometimes it leaves the world of the known altogether and sits by itself, ruminating, I am, very much centered in the subject. Much of the time it alternates between subject and the object, first clear, then vague. There are also moments when it withdraws from the sphere of awareness entirely and nothing is known. And lastly, it is capable of effacing the duality of the subject and object, not negatively, but in a very positive way, by transcending the modalities. But this we have already seen as the four states of consciousness: waking, dreaming, deep sleep, and turiya, transcendent. When it goes negatively, we call it sleep. When it goes positively, we call it transcending the modalities. So in this first paragraph, what he has done is he has explained all the various ways in which one consciousness can function in us, in our experience. If we observe, if we are a contemplative person and we observe our mind, observe our consciousness, we will see that these are all the different states it will go. It will go sometimes into the knower, sometimes it goes into the known is emphasized, sometimes the knower aspect is emphasized, sometimes there is a dichotomy between knower and known. When you think of somebody else, as I am separate from somebody else, then you become a knower and known dichotomy, becomes split into two. Sometimes it has states of clarity, everything is very clear, like a sattvic state. Sometimes it becomes obscuration, like a tamasic state. So knowledge has a lot of potential, knowledge has a lot of possibilities. So it is actualizing as this world to know its own potentials. That is his explanation for creation. It is knowledge wanting to know itself. That is why this world is the field for the knowledge to know itself. And this is very close to Western philosopher Hegel. Hegel's idea was also that absolute with potential and absolute with experience. So when we are born as children, we have potentials. And then in our life, we actualize all those potential. And when we become old, we have got experience. We have experience. So what was potential has been experienced through the course of our life. Similarly, knowledge has become this world, and through that, knowledge is knowing itself. That is his explanation, which is very good explanation. So there is no God creating or anything like that. Knowledge is knowing itself through its creation. And that knowledge has got two aspects in it: sameness and otherness. If we look at that knowledge, it has got sama, anya. These are the two limits of that knowledge. In sameness, everything, it is of one quality only. If you are in like the saint or the guru or the yogi, they are seeing sameness, they are seeing the same soul, one Atma in everybody. They become Mahatma. They are seeing sameness. Ordinary people are always seeing other. This is me, this is other. This is my family, this is other family. This is my country, this is another country. This is my thing, this is another thing. They are seeing Anya. So these are the only two possibilities of our consciousness. Either it will see sameness or it will see Anya. So that is what he's continuing. So continuing of these two forces mentioned, that is Sama Anya. The second division, sameness, it is having only one quality. And for the first, the difficult, there is no end to its qualities. That means Anya will be having varieties upon varieties. Just think, everybody has a separate fingerprint. Every baby that is getting born will have a different fingerprint, unique fingerprint. It's different. It has a different genetic code. Everyone is unique. Everyone is different. No two things are exactly alike. If I take the leaves of a tree, if I take two birds, if I take nature, nothing will be exactly alike. Everything has got some unique feature. It's different. That is the Anya aspect. But if we look deeper and if we inquire, we'll see all are actually coming from only one substance or one original substance. In Narayana Guru's philosophy, that original substance is Ariva, spirit, knowledge, Atma, Brahman, Ananda, all those are the universal substance that is always the same. It is the same in all. This is taught in the Upanishads, in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is taught like the string in the pearls. You have a garland of pearls, but they are all connected with one string inside. The necklace is connected with one string only. In the string there is no difference, but in the individual pearls, each one is different from the other. So you can see there is a difference and a sameness in our world experience. And if you get into the differences of things, you will suffer. If you can see the sameness of everything, you will become free. You will become liberated, moksha or nirvana, whatever name you want to give it. That will come to you if you are able to see the sameness in everything. How to do that? That is what this commentary is going to tell us. The first thing is an analysis, a study of the different ways in which our consciousness can be experienced by us. We can experience it as the knower, we can experience it as the known, we can experience it as clarity. Sometimes we are getting a little muddled, mixed up. Sometimes we are not able to understand. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we are getting confused. Sometimes we have clarity. Sometimes we are thinking, I am. Sometimes we are thinking of something else. So this is how our consciousness is always functioning in many, many ways, in which he lists. Sometimes it forms a pronounced dichotomy of knower and known. Dichotomy means it becomes two, split into two, knower and known. At certain other times it becomes passive witness. So you are sitting in the bus and traveling or driving and just watching all the things going by. You are passively watching. You are not reacting to it. You are not getting attracted to anything. You are not getting repelled. You are just passively watching. And the lower aspect is not emphasized. You are just watching like a witness. Watching the ongoing procession of known items flashing through consciousness as objects of awareness. So you are watching the window, looking outside and just watching the scenery going by. The houses, the trees, the fields. That is, you are just passively watching it going by. So that is, you are now the knower watching the known. And sometimes it leaves the world of the known altogether and sits by itself, ruminating, I am. But then sometimes you start thinking about myself, I am. Very much centered in the subject. Now it has gone into the subject. First it was watching the objects, the known, Now it has become part of the subject, the knower. Much of the time it alternates between subject and object, first clear, then vague. There are also moments when it withholds from the sphere of awareness entirely, when nothing is known. And lastly, that is going to sleep. It becomes unconscious. Finally, it is capable of effacing the duality of the subject and object, not negatively, but in a very positive way, by transcending the modalities. That is having the Turiya experience, that is transcending. So this is a list of all the possible variations in which our consciousness can function. And that is, each person can observe it. If you observe your mind all the time, you can see how it is doing all these different functions, how it goes through different states. When we examine this movement of knowledge, we can see that it always moves within itself. Knowledge cannot move out of itself. It is always within itself. Even if you say, I don't know, that is also within knowledge. When you look at the flow of life horizontally, it passes sequentially from one thing to another. So you know that horizontal and vertical frame of reference. When we talk of action, that is a horizontal thing. When we talk of meditation, that is a vertical thing. So when we look at the flow of life horizontally, it passes sequentially from one thing to another. Each moment, or even less than a moment, the attention is fixed on one particular aspect. The very next moment, the whole scene has changed, and attention is with another interest. So Buddha says the mind is like a monkey, jumping always from one topic to the next. And that is why it's always chanchalam. In Bhagavad Gita also, chanchalam hi mana Krishna. My mind is very chanchalam, very restless. So we just have to observe our mind to see how it is always bubbling, restless. So Narayana Guru uses the analogy of the spokes of a chariot wheel to describe the mind's movement from interest to interest. Each moment, or even less than a moment, the attention is fixed on one particular aspect. The very next moment, the whole scene has changed, and attention is with another interest. Narayana Guru uses the analogy of the spokes of a chariot wheel to describe the mind's movement from interest to interest. Even though the wheel has many spokes, the whole weight of the chariot rests on just the one spoke which is vertically below the hub. As the chariot moves, the burden goes to the next spoke and the next. The image shows us that even though the shifting interests differ from moment to moment, the cumulative effect is constant. So that's a very good analogy, the wheel with spokes. The spokes are going from the circumference to the center. And as we have one interest, that particular interest will be with us for a minute, then it will move away, the next interest will come. Again, it will be one spoke, again it will move, the next interest will come. So shifting interest moment to moment. Like the wheel, when it's moving, you don't feel one spoke after the next spoke. It feels as if the movement is continuous. So we also feel the movement of time is continuous, but it is actually happening with one interest followed by the next interest, followed by the next interest. So it's a cumulative effect. It becomes a cumulative effect. Although we are drawn as though blindfolded by negative or dark instinctive pull, we need not remain always in the state of negativity. There are two ways to deal with our lot in life. The lower animals, from viruses and bacteria up through most mammals, have a stream of development and a life plan that are fixed by nature's own devices. It is as if they have a set program to go by. To them, life is a continuous passing show, and they don't look back with any sense of regret or remorse. They don't have any assigned duties for tomorrow. They don't sit down and scheme and plan. A bird which needs to build a nest and hatch its eggs does not figure out how it's going to do it tomorrow. In the morning when it gets up, it instinctively picks up little pieces of cotton and thread, leaves and broken twigs. then it makes a nest. Just when the nest is finished, the eggs come. It's also very well adjusted by nature. If someone breaks the eggs or pulls apart the nest, it flutters around for a little while and then forgets it. Although they look mechanical, the bird's actions have an absolutism in them. Similarly, a drop of water in a stream goes on dancing all the way from the mountain top to the ocean. It merrily plunges ahead, unaware of what awaits it, whether there is a smooth bed or a plunging waterfall, whence it will always be pure and clear or contaminated by some city's effluence. It has no thought, it just goes. So two types of examples. One is instinctive nature, which is controlling all of animal life. They just do what they have to do. They don't think, they don't plan, they don't regret, they don't have any bad feeling if something has gone. If their nest is broken, okay, just make another one. So all these cobwebs are there in the house, you clean all the cobwebs, the spiders all run away. And after some time they all come back and make new cobwebs. So nature goes on, nature just goes on with its own laws. It has no regret or planning or anything, it just lives for the moment. Only human beings have this mind, and because of the mind they create all sorts of situations. Second example is the drop of water. Drop of water from the mountain, it goes with the water. It doesn't think, where am I going to go now? Where the waterfall will come, I will get dirty, polluted when I go to the city, that all this pollution will come. It doesn't think like that, it just goes with the flow. So, but we human beings have a different approach. Of course, it's true that some of us are not very different from animals or drops of water in a stream. So he's making fun of people who don't have any planning, who live animal-type life, instinctive life, and those who just go with fate, whatever life is taking us, just go with it. We just go on, meeting contingencies as they appear in front of us. But in all of us, there is one difference present in varying degrees. The animal and the drop of water don't have any special obligation to anyone, but man makes promises and gets into obligations. So Henry Bergson talks a lot about this obligation, how we become obliged. Then he drifts from one thing to another. There comes the constriction of previous commitments, like the tug of a string wound about his limbs. Then he turns back. The alternative for him is always to be fully alive and wakeful to the whole situation. Then he does not allow any particular interest to infatuate him so much that he becomes blind to reality. The animal force which makes life mechanical is very strong. Most people cannot resist it. We just get into the mainstream and flow with it. Only here and there do we find the rare person in whom the whole meaning and significance of life has opened up, which brings a clarity like 10,000 suns shining all at once. So most people are caught in obligation. They grow in the home, they are society, and therefore they live in obligation only. Only rarely is a person able to go down to the significance of life, meaning of life, and then have great clarity. So this has all been a kind of background that he's building up to explain the two sides of our life. One side is the obligatory life, the instinctive life, and the other is the life of consciousness and the life of freedom. So Guru has said that our knowledge has innumerable powers, which can all be brought under two headings, Sama and Anya, the same and the other. Sama is unitive consciousness. Even when you go from one thing to another, you know it is a continuation of the same interest, of the same consciousness, all within one ambit of existence. Anya is when the unitive aspect is blindfolded, so you don't see it. You only see one thing at a time, and you get caught up in it, and it fills your whole mind. For a time you are fully absorbed, not leaving a little of your awareness on your transparency in time and space and the meaning of life. So that is the other possibility. Then he went further, saying that in our knowledge there is an indistinctive aspect which calls for a clarity in every item of knowledge. This is called Vishama, the difficult to discern, such as when you say this is a pot or this is a friend. We do not really know what this is. We only know that it comes as a calling of attention to an awareness. When we specify pot, my friend, or whatever, our interest is immediately shifted to what we have specified. We don't bother about this because our interest is caught up in the qualifying aspect, Vishesham. This is his most important, one of the important contribution. When you say this is a pot, this is a friend, this is a book, this is a room, this is my friend, etc. That this is the same in everything. Same this. This is a book. This is a computer. This is a room. This is my friend. This is my pen. So we are making many items out of this, in that the this is common and the specifying aspect is different. But once that this has become specific, our attention goes to the specific part and we forget the generic, we forget that this is common to all. So just like gold and the ornament, there is only one gold. But when you make it into an ornament, you call it ring, you call it necklace, you call it bangle, you call it so many different names. It has a specificity, it has a different function, it has a different value, but its substance is the same. It's the same gold only. Similarly, when we say, this is my book, it's the same this only. There is only one this, which is generic. Generic means general. It's the most general thing, called this. Then you make it into a specific by saying is a, then you make it specific. This is a pot. This is Fernhill. This is a tree. This is India. This is the solar system. This is the universe. You can go on making any number of elaborations, but the basic substance or generic aspect is only this. One thisness, or a consciousness becomes thisness, and thisness becomes so many things. When it becomes so many things, we forget about the thisness, we forget about the universal. Our mind, our senses gets attracted to the unique property, to the Vishesha, specific property. So we have to train our mind to see that it is only that this which has become that particular item. We are speaking here of two pairs of ideas, Sama and Anya. So this is a very central teaching of Guru about this. This is the pot and this is knowledge. This is his very simple way to explain how we see specificity, we see differences, and we see sameness. Sama and Anya. So in the Anya mode, we will see only differences. The mind will only start becoming conscious of the differences in the Anya mode. And that is endless. You cannot count how many differences there are, how many variations, how many possibilities. Everything has got hundreds and hundreds of pieces, that specificity variation. So if the mind goes into that specific aspect, it will become confused, it will become troubled. So the only salvation we have is we have to go to the universal, go to the Sama aspect. So in the next para he is saying we are speaking here of two pairs of ideas, Sama and Anya, the unitive and the differentiating. One is unitive, bringing sameness, other is differentiating. And a subdivision of Anya, the difficult to discern, Vishama, and the specifying quality, Vishesham. So Sama Anya, it's got a subdivision of Anya, the difficult to discern, that is Vishama, and the specifying as quality, Vishesham. Narayana Guru defines Anya as that which is known as variegated, while what shines forth as one whole is Sama. He then asks us to keep our mind open and vigilant so that we can release ourselves from being blindfolded by the infatuating source of the specifying thing, which comes in the form of other. So when you see the other, what happens to you? It blindfolds you and it infatuates. It causes some attraction to that, infatuation. Then in the present verse, the Guru is taking us a little deeper into the differentiating aspect. In this particular verse, he is explaining about the differentiating, that is the anya aspect. In the next verse, he will talk about the sama aspect. First, let us understand how this differentiating aspect works, how the anya works. In the next verse, he will tell us how the sama works. So sama, anya, these are the two differentiating. One is unitive, the other is differentiating. How does the differentiating work? That is what he is explaining now. In the present verse, the Guru is taking us a little deeper into the differentiating aspect. From the day of your birth to today, there is a constant return of consciousness to its core or center. It always goes back and touches the center. Then from the center, it goes to the periphery, where it deals with objects. No matter what the function is, the general nature of the experience is an illuminating awareness, a self-awareness. It is self-luminous. There is no other agent to throw light there. When you go into the self, go down, that is self-luminate, Swayam Prakasha. When you come out, then another agent of illumination, sunlight, is required when you see the object. But to go into yourself, you don't need any sunlight. By yourself, everybody has that Swayam Prakash, self-luminous. So core to the periphery. We are moving back always up and down. Core to the periphery, periphery to the core. Centripetal force, centrifugal force. Centrifugal will make you out. Centripetal will take you back to the center. As you go to the center, self-luminosity. You will touch your self-luminous core, then again you will come out. That is how consciousness will always be functioning. Going out, coming in, going out. Cosmopsychological respiration. In a grand osmotic cosmopsychological functionalism. Respiration. You can talk in modern scientific language. You can say it's a cosmopsychological respiration. Like we breathe in and breathe out. Two functions are happening in our breath. Inhaling, exhaling. Similarly, our mind going to the center, going out. Centrifugal, centripetal. So self-luminous core. Our core is self-luminous and the periphery is illuminated by external source. That means what our eyes see, what our ears hear, what our tongue tastes, what our skin feels, all this must come from outside, externally. And when we think and when we ruminate, that light is coming from within us. So we have two sources of our experience. The core aspect in us, that is the self-luminous aspect, that is the center. In our center, that is the self-luminous aspect. Right in our core, like the seed. In a fruit, there is a seed. That is the karu. Just like that, in us, there is a core, center, in which there is self-luminous. It is self-luminous. It doesn't need any external light. In our periphery, that is on the outside, we need the five senses to experience the world. To experience the world, we need an external source of light. We need the sunlight, we need a torch, or we need some street light, or we need some kind of external light. But to experience our own inner nature, inner self, we do not need any external light. Our own self is having its own self-luminosity. So these are what he's saying, these are the two aspects. And our consciousness is moving between these two. Sometimes it goes to the outside, sometimes it comes inside. It will touch both sides. The nature of our consciousness is oscillating. It is moving back and forth, moving up from the center to the periphery, from the periphery it will go back to the center. When you say, I understand, okay, then you have gone to the center. If you say, okay, what is this? What's going on? Then you have gone to the periphery. So in both the functions of the mind, you are actually going between, when you see and you say, oh, I understand, now you have gone to the center. If you ask, what is this, what is happening, then you have gone to the periphery. So it's always moving like that, periphery to center. So whether you sit with your eyes open or closed, there is a consciousness that illuminates you, which brings awareness to you. It is always there, unbroken. Sometimes it takes the form of a wakeful consciousness. At other times it is like a dream consciousness. And sometimes it is deep sleep. So that is how our consciousness will function. If you are not wakefully aware or having dreams, but as soon as you wake up, you remember it was a good time, I had a good sleep. There is an awareness there which was very passive, and yet it lends itself to be recalled. If you are so favored to become a yogi who can transcend the three modalities and remain in a calm, serene state, where you are totally one with yourself, that transcendental state can also be related with the other three. Then the whole thing can be known as pure knowledge. This is the same fourfold division of knowledge: wakeful, dream, deep sleep, and fourth state, turiya. In the fourth state, you become calm and serene. So the yogi, every yogi will be very calm and serene, quality of a yogi. On some level, you have been experiencing pure knowledge all through until this moment. And what is its quality? It is just awareness, self-awareness. Within that state of awareness, two kinds of thisnesses are coming to you. One says, this is me, and the other, this is what I know. One, this pertains to the knower, and the other pertains to the known. When you said I, when you were 2, 4, 10, 20 years old, and what you will mean when you are 50, 60, and 70, you will always recognize as the same I. You go on saying, I am this and this is me, and you have no doubt that the I who said it yesterday is the same as the I who said it today. There is no doubt that I am the same person who was 10 years old. I am the same person who was 50 years old. I am the same person so that I is not changing, it is a constant. I who said it yesterday is the same I who says it today. That this does not have a varying connotation from moment to moment and time to time. This also does not have a varying connotation. The this of the knower always remains constant, whereas the this of the known can never be the same. So again he's put two this. There is a this of the knower, that is I am, that is the same. This of the knower, that means this is what I know, that is always going to change. It is never the same. It always changes, even if it sometimes seems repetitive. Infinite are the possibilities of the structuring of consciousness. Every day we wake up, every day we are in the same room, same place, eating, doing the same routine. But every day is not the same. Every day is also different. You cannot have exact repetition of the same day. Every day is different, even though you are having the same job, same routine, same place, but the day is not the same. It's a different day. That is why infinite possibilities. It's just endless. Everything will be a little bit different. Infinite are the possibility of the structuring of consciousness. So that when consciousness structures, it is infinite, countless, any number. Narayana Guru says that there is a this which is always one, and there is this another this which is infinite. Virati means termination. Virata vara, that means which has no termination, that which has no termination. So we get virata vara vishama, that which is difficult to discern and yet has no termination. There is no end to the problems of the world. Very important to distinguish these two. One is that this I know, or that is the same, this. And then the other is, this is what is known, that is always different. It will never be the same. So there is one I who is the same, and then there is one other aspect in us which is always different. This of the known can never be the same, it always changes, even if it sometimes seems repetitive. Infinite are the possibilities of structuring of consciousness. Narayana Guru says there is a this which is always one, and there is another this which is infinite. Virati means termination, virati vara, that which has no termination. So we get virati vara vishama, that which is difficult to discern and yet has no termination. This pertains to the whole world of knowledge. Another vishama pertains to the I itself, as we are flooded with the interminable interests of the passing objects to which our senses and mind are tuned. We are like children running to one toy after another. So that is the always looking for novelty, something different, some change, something interesting. So we are running after different objects all the time. That is the vishama. That is the vishama coming from the I. And there is another vishama coming from the objective side. If only we remembered that all the passing show is an experience of our own consciousness. That is what we have to remember, that this passing show is an experience of our own consciousness. And for that we can go back to page number 5, where he says, feel the great wonder of your own consciousness that is continuously modulating as the world outside and the idea inside. Your own consciousness is modulating as the world outside and the idea inside. If we could sit back on the bank of the stream of consciousness rather than drifting away like the water drops within it, we would have a different attitude towards life. Verse 39 requires us to be a constant witness of our own existence. Be a constant witness of our own existence. This helps us not only spiritually but on every level, in every way. When you are caught in an emotional situation, remember virati vara vishama, that difficult aspect which is interminable, which is endless or it has no end, interminable, which is taking you from one mood to another, one emotional state to another, one kind of appreciation to another. It has such a hold on you that you lose your power to restrain, to observe, to be neutral and impartial in your observations. Instead, you become identified with what happens to you each moment. Knowing this helps you to step back, or knowing this witnessing consciousness helps you to step back and free yourself from the entanglements of the situation. As an example, he gives acting. When an actor is on the stage, appearing for all the world, completely at home and alive in his role, deep down he knows that when the play is over, he will no longer be that character. He doesn't carry the ups and downs of his character home with him. Even a person who dies on the stage gets up and walks away when the curtain is dropped. This brings a kind of lightness and freedom that are otherwise quite difficult for those who are attached to their personas to achieve. In fact, our life is a continuous play with continuous action and continuous staging. Even Shakespeare said, all the world is a stage. And Vedantins also say, Leela, it's a drama. We have to get up and walk away from our roles moment by moment, but we forget. We are very deeply affected by the events in our lives. We become so involved. But if we can have this little detachment to sit back and see that this is a passing show going on. I can repeat that. This is a passing show going on. It will give us all the great strength and patience on earth. You are always just who you are. Somebody says you are good, somebody says you are bad. That belongs to the passing moment. Their remarks do not make you more good or bad than you actually are. Whatever you are, you are. Detachment enables you to have a better appraisal of the passing moment. This is not only for your final salvation, but also for your salvation here and now. Your consciousness is flashing quickly between the knower and what is known. That which oscillates between them is the same consciousness. and it is you. So sit back firmly in your detachment and yet also participate in the stream of life as it flows by you with its eternal rhythms. So that is the mood, that is what we do. We sit in our detachment, and from that detachment we also participate. Time has a mood. In springtime, he's writing in the West, so spring, summer, autumn, winter are the 4 seasons in European countries. So he says time has a mood. In springtime, the mood is to dream, to plan, to make endless promises, jubilantly and hopefully. You think it will always be spring, you are outgoing and optimistic. Then when fall comes, the mood changes, your dreams change colors, going from bright to dry and brown. They break off from the main stem, flutter in the wind, and blow away into oblivion. The sweeper comes and they are all swept away. Your promises were of spring. In fall, they are no longer valid. The mood changes again when winter comes. You withhold yourself from the periphery and sink into your own depths. You are one with yourself. You are now most important to yourself. It is very cold and still outside, snowing. Then once again, when spring returns, you come out. This is one possibility. It is good for the trees, but it is not good for us. The tree has no remorse about dropping its leaves, but we do. If you find a girlfriend or boyfriend in the spring and you drop them off in the fall after 6 months, when you see them again, you will get a peculiar feeling about your fickleness. Man alone has this kind of funny feeling, not trees or slugs or birds. And as you have it, you have to be careful. So cultivate this attitude. Once you've solidified a permanent mood and developed your ability to witness, then you can play around a little in your daily life. Always remember, we are aiming this study at our everyday life. It is not some far-off exotic philosophy. So with that he ends. So basically, this distinction between Anya and Sama is very important. And then to have the detached witnessing ability to be detached and witness, and at the same time participate also. And then treat it lightly like a drama. Like don't take things too seriously. And yet don't think it is all just nothing. I don't have to care. You have to be careful also. You have to participate. At the same time, you have to not get trapped in the situation. So in the free translation, he says, moreover, of these two powers, sameness is unitive, while the other pertains to that which is never exhausted of its indistinctness and begs for clarification. They are of 2 separate kinds. So 2 separate kinds of consciousness in our life, Sama and Anya. We have to distinguish that. Yeah. So what he's saying is this is a philosophy to apply in our life. It is not some exotic philosophy. So that is by knowledge, by analysis. First, knowing the nature of knowledge. No, first is consciousness. We are all conscious people, so therefore we have consciousness. I am aware. That consciousness has altering states. It flows. Sometimes it can become obscure. Sometimes it can become clear. So it has many moods, many types of performances. So we have to observe it through our own mind. Our own mind is the mirror. In the mirror of our mind, we have to observe how this consciousness is behaving. Once we start observing that, we'll notice this kind of behaviors, that it is going into all these different types of moods, that it goes out to the periphery sometimes it goes to the core. And it has these 2 limits. It will go into Vishama or it will go into Anya and Sama. These are again the 2 divisions. When you come to Sama, unitiveness, you will see the sameness in everything. When you go to Anya, you will see the uniqueness. And sometimes you'll get fascinated by that uniqueness. So difference and sameness. This is the 2 movements. And this he has explained the function of the differences, how the differences work. In the next verse, he will talk about the sameness, how the sameness, we experience sameness. First, we learn about the differences, how the mind makes differences. The Anya comes. Anya, power of Anya comes. Then we have to overcome that through the power of Sama. You see the sameness. What is same in everything? That is consciousness. Consciousness is the same as Ariva, the same as Satchitananda. That is the same in everything. Then in that there is a Vishesha, there is a specific quality, that golden ornament or pot and clay idea. When the specific quality comes, then mind gets fascinated, either attracted to it or repelled. If it's not an attractive thing, we feel rejecting it. If it's an attractive thing, we feel like possessing it, having it. So that is the specific aspect, is creating that feeling. Only the specific aspects will make it attractive. The witnessing consciousness is only observing. It's only spectator, like watching the game. That is the consciousness. It's watching its own movements, its own creations, its own functions of knowledge. Knower, known. Two types of division comes: knower, knowledge, and known. Knowledge, knower, known. Triputi happens. So one knowledge is getting split into so many fragments. And our job, the yogi's job, is to bring it back always to the common center, ground it in the common universal consciousness. That is the Sama. If you do that, you will become free and you will become constant. Your mind will remain constant in all circumstances. That will bring peace, will bring happiness. So if it goes to Anya, it will create all kinds of swinging moods and all kinds of endless is the word, interminable. There is no terminus. It doesn't end. It's endless. Keep on and on, like soap bubbles. You wash your hands, how the soap bubbles are creating more and more and more. It goes on. There is no end to it. So even Narayana Guru is saying there is no end to that. Go on and on. How long? You will get exhausted. You will get tired. You will get completely in suffering on that. It will split a person.